Hey, big thanks to LongevityShopping.com for sponsoring this interview series. We're at the Newport Beach Investor Conference. We couldn't do it without LongevityShopping.com. If you have not checked out the website, definitely do that. I'm here with the founder right now, Brad Turner. Hey, Brad, big thanks for sponsoring us and bringing us out here today.
Oh, we're so excited, Adam, and I'm so glad you're here doing a great job as usual, man. We have a great lineup of people that you're interviewing, and it's just a really great event as always.
LongevityShopping.com. Check it out. Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I am at the Newport Beach Investor Conference, and let me tell you, this is one of my favorite conferences yearly in Newport. I've been coming for the last 2 to 3 years, and my current guest, I was able to grab him from his booth. I met him originally, I think it was at A4M, and you can actually see on this backdrop right here, if I pointed out this hyperbaric chamber, last time I met him, we was in one of his own booths over at A4M, and he had all these chambers around. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like, he's telling me about all these fancy chairs. All right, without further ado, Clay, man, welcome. Finally get you on the show.
Adam, thanks for having me, man. I really love the title of your show, Mission Matters, because I'm on a mission for hyperbarics. It's a 380-year-old technology, and we've just barely scratched the surface of market penetration. Yeah. If I had $1 billion today, it'd still be a rounding error and the people that need hyperbarics for their treatment.
Wow. I want to go way back when, because I've heard of your work in hyperbarics, and you've been in this space for a while. You're one of the pioneers, I would consider, based on what I know of your background. How'd you get started? I want to immortalize that.
Well, it was an interesting day. We had a new patient in the practice who had come in and gotten his labs drawn, and my wife had diagnosed him with a dental infection and had him go out to see a biological dentist. And on the way out from 6 hours in the chair, the dentist said, hey, you need to get in a hyperbaric chamber and kill off that infection that's underlying all those teeth problems you got. Well, this guy being this guy, he looked around town. The only 5 hyperbaric clinics or chambers in Austin were at the hospital. They were wound care centers, and they wouldn't treat him for that. That's not one of the 14 FDA-approved uses. So he went in and found his own. 3 days later, he had it in his garage. They learned how to treat himself. He spent 2.5, 3 months doing 2 sessions a day, and his blood markers changed dramatically, so much so that we thought it was his kid brother's blood.
Really?
Yeah, it was just.
And how long ago was this roughly?
This was 11 years ago.
Wow.
Right at about 11 years ago. And he convinced me to put a chamber in our practice, but not in the medical practice. I did some research on the market, and I said I felt like the business opportunity. I had financed the chain of MRI centers back on the West Coast 20 years before. And I said the MRI model is what works because you can ask other doctors to refer patients in. And so I put together a clinic. I ran the desk every day. I wanted to learn about this. I read, hundreds and hundreds of papers about it. And it's truly a transformative healing modality because it works at the mitochondria level. And so it works anything inflammatory. And that's 93% of the U.S. healthcare dollar a day is chronic conditions. So it couldn't help but work. And then working the desk every day, I saw miracle after miracle after miracle, which just changed my life.
Was there like a moment, or would you say working the desk was kind of like a progression to where we're big about mission? Obviously, where mission matters. Like, when did you know like this was going to be your thing?
Well, I tell you, I got some early treatment in on some veterans, and it was kind of charity. Doing some charity work with them, and saw some great remissions in their PTSD.
You can't unknow what you know now, right?
And then I got this young lady in who had been hit by a truck, and she had a little baby, and her parents said, do you think hyperbaric will help? She's been sitting in this wheelchair drooling for 18 months. Nothing works. I mean, she couldn't talk. She couldn't take care of herself. She was a mess. And I said, well, I hadn't been in it that long. I hadn't seen much yet. And I said, well, if you come every day, something will happen. So sure enough, they came every day. One of the parents would get in the chamber and work her out real good. And I had to go and wipe the sweat down after every session. And after 40 hours of sessions, she was walking from the waiting room and getting in the chamber by herself. And I said, hey, we got to help these people, and so I called her back. I called the mom up, after their 40 hours ran out, and I said, hey, we got an anonymous donor stepped up for another 40 hours. Would you please bring your daughter back in? And she was ecstatic.
Wow.
And at the end of that 40 hours, this young lady was walking back and forth to the car every day on her own, but most importantly, she was back talking to her baby girl. She was a mom again.
Wow.
And that changed my life. I spent my whole career making rich guys richer, but this gave me purpose.
Yeah.
This gave me my mission, which is to get hyperbarics out in the hands of as many people as possible. I want to go open some more clinics. I want to design some lower cost chambers so that we can get it out there.
Yeah.
Like I said, if I had $1 billion today, I would barely be scratching the surface of what the population that needs hyperbarics.
Wow. You mentioned 40 hours. Now, is there some correlation to number of hours and maybe health benefits, or what's that connection in general?
Yeah, hyperbaric is a cumulative thing.
Okay.
So you got to stay steady with a 5-day on, 2-day off routine to go through those 3 major stages of cumulative benefits. At 20 sessions at 2.0, you're going to mobilize up to an 800% increase in progenitor stem cells, which are the cells that get in your blood system and take on the characteristics of the organs that you want to heal.
Yeah.
All right. At 40 sessions, and this was on my PowerPoint today, Dr. Harsh showed that there's permanent genetic changes taking place. You're upregulating about 4,000 anti-inflammatory genes. You're downregulating about 4,100 pro-inflammatory genes. That's over 30 of your protein encoding genes in the body that are being permanently re-regulated for an anti-inflammatory state.
Wow.
So that happens at 40 sessions. And then there was a study that came out about 5 years ago now called the Ephrati study out of Tel Aviv University in Israel, where they did 60 sessions, a big, like 87 or 93 patients, so pretty good sized study. 60 sessions, 90 minutes long, with 5-minute air breaks every 20 minutes at 2 atmospheres. And it extended the telomere length by 25 to 37%.
Wow.
And got rid of up to 50% of the senescent cells, which are your dead cells in your body, get it cleaned out. So that's a time machine. You're literally making people live longer because telomere length is your arbiter of longevity.
And as there's and individuals continue, so one of the things that you do, and correct me if I'm off on this, but you help individuals, you help centers with the large hyperbaric chambers, right, and things like that. And then you also are people able to also purchase them? Like what I'm looking at right here, maybe that's a good spot to start, because I was thinking about that might be a little big for my living room, man.
Well, I got into sales as an adjunct for treating people in the clinic because they would come for 60, 80 hours.
That's what I'm thinking, right?
And they said, man, I want to feel like this all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
But the drive time's killing me. It's Austin, Texas. It's traffic, right? And I said, that's great. We'll just put one at your ranch or in your home or in your co-op or whatever, and you can treat yourself, and I'll show you how. And so I've been doing that for 8 years. And up until about February or March of this year, 3 out of every 4 chambers I sold was going in somebody's home.
Oh, wow.
So people, biohackers, or people who had chronic condition that needed something long term. And then the switch kind of flipped because we're seeing a hockey stick of hyperbaric popularity now in the longevity and wellness space. So I'm getting chains of clinics calling me because of my rep and saying, hey, we want to get some of these new chambers you're importing, and we want to put them in our clinics and our franchises and things like that. So I'm doing more corporate type clinic sales now. And so it's flipped the other way. 3 out of 4 that I'm selling are going into longevity clinics.
And so when somebody's at home, so a lot of people at home, business owners, entrepreneurs, executives that watch this show, and somebody's thinking about, I've been thinking about hyperbaric chamber. Maybe they've even tinkered around online a little bit, and they're like, is this something I need, don't need? And then, they move on, right? What are some reasons that somebody should consider looking deeper? And if they are looking deeper into getting into a hyperbaric chamber for their home or otherwise, what are some things when they're shopping, like in general? Obviously, I want them to go to you. Well, at the end of this, I'll give everybody the opportunity. Don't worry, I'm going to give Clay the opportunity to leave a website or whatever else. But what should they be looking for?
Well, the key is if you want health as a lifestyle, right? And that's becoming more and more prevalent. People are cutting down on their drinking, and you're seeing that across the board. Cannabis has gotten big, and all these other things. But health is longevity. And so hyperbarics is that one baseline biohack that works at the mitochondrial level, and it makes everything else you're doing to be healthy work better because you've got more oxygen, more ATP to stimulate the body healing itself and giving energy to itself. So it's if you can afford it, do it. You know, and that's one of the reasons we're trying to figure out a way to lower the cost of production of the chambers themselves, so that we can get it out to more people and treat more people in clinics. And you know, you're looking at an average treatment of $175 to $300 a session at clinics like ours. And if we can get the cost of the equipment cut in half or 60%, I can drop that treatment price to $50. And then more and more people who really need it but can't afford it because it's not insurance-wise will have access to it.
And your clinic was in Austin, I think you said, right?
Yeah, we just opened our third one. The family just opened the third clinic in Austin a couple of weeks ago.
All right, I'm going to Austin on the 30th. I got to cover something out there. I might have to stop by, Clay, get a little, you know.
ATXhyperbarics.com.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, one in Westlake, one in Round Rock, and now out in Lake Wayne.
I've never been to Austin. It'll be my first time going out there doing a gig, and I was like, I've heard. I've been to other places in Texas. I finally got hired to go out to Austin. I'm like, I'm there.
Yeah, it's great food, great music. Music scene's not as good as it was pre-COVID, but you know,
everything's still coming back. I feel.
Yeah.
All good. All right, Clay, you mentioned it, but I want you to do a little bit slower, and I want you to look into the camera this time. If somebody wants to follow up and they want to learn more, they want to go to the clinic, they're thinking about putting one in their home and or their clinic, how do they follow up? How do they learn more and connect with your team?
Well, the best way is chambers at hyperbarics.ai. That's our central email. Our distribution company is Scientific Age Management. So that URL, scientificagemanagement.com, will get you to see some of the chambers we have available for sale. We do the sales, we do the installation, we do the training, and then we do the maintenance. And then we also sell service contracts to extend the warranty on the equipment that we represent from the factory 2 years to 5 years. So given people who are making a capital investment of 6 figures, the comfort to know that there's somebody here in the U.S. that can help them with these imported chambers. Tariffs are a little tough right now. We don't know exactly where that's going, but they're still under the price of some of the domestic supply here in the U.S. And that's why we're representing them, because it's a really strong team of development, second-generation shipbuilders. I mean, they built submarines, they built hospital-grade hyperbarics. I mean, these people know hyperbarics. And they have all the U.S. certifications that you need to be in a commercial environment. They got an ASME PVHO engineering stamp on them, and that's the holy grail.
Fantastic. And for everybody watching, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes, so you can just click on the link and head right on over. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Clay, thanks again for coming on, man. It's great to finally see you.
Adam, it was a real pleasure to be with you here today, and thank you for taking the time to introduce us to your audience, because hyperbarics is the ultimate biohack, and it is the ultimate time machine.
Awesome.